guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over two very interesting articles dealing with the SCX robot industry, or in other words, the love doll industry, and where things are now and the way things are predicted and how they're going to go over the coming years. And let me tell you guys, this is definitely going to raise some eyebrows as to what is going on now and the predictions. Now, the first article is going to deal with guys, as in robots for men. And let me tell you, when you see, I'm going to attach the links to these articles so you can read along and check out the pictures here. When you see the pictures of some of these AI-powered robots, holy crap. I mean, we're not talking Westworld yet. If you've seen the show Westworld, which you all should, the first season is amazing, but it's well on its way. And how these are AI-powered, and they'll be able to respond to their male lovers and remember things that they like, remember conversations, connected to the cloud. It's crazy. And again, the direction of where things are going. Second article is going to cover robots for women, and where you had this so-called expert, futurist, if you will, predicting the direction of how things are going. And the interesting thing is the prediction of where things will be in the coming years, and who will be using this more, men or women. You'll be surprised at the answer, as well as just, how things are expected to go. And I got to tell you guys, I can't say I'm all surprised the direction these things are going, and who can blame so many guys out there. And there are a lot of women that will say, well, who can blame a lot of women? But nevertheless, this is the rise of the machines. So the first article is titled The Love Factory. Inside the chilling SCX robot factory in China, pumping out legions of next-generation AI-powered $3,000 love dolls for lonely men. Says here, WM Doll thinks their doll's ability to be more expressive gives them the edge. China is pumping out hordes of futuristic AI-powered love dolls at $3,000 a pop for lonely men. The SCX dolls have become creepingly realistic, and China's robot factories are at the center of the revolution. Again, guys, pause the video, go to the description, click on the link so you can see what a lot of these dolls look like, these robots, in various stages of production. It's interesting. It says here, WM Doll, one of China's leading doll makers, is expecting a 30% leap in sales this year, as men unable to find partners refuse to stay celibate. I don't think it's a case of guys that are just lonely or refuse to that can't find partners. I think it's a lot of guys that simply don't want to deal, with what is out there. And I gotta interrupt to say this: as these robots become more and more sophisticated, already you're hearing stories about AI girlfriends or AI boyfriends and stuff like that. Wait till you got a freaking droid in your freaking house that looks, that's going to happen the way things are going. I'm not saying I'm interested in that, but I'm just telling you the way things are going. Part of the uptick in interest comes from the enhanced user experience, which now makes the use of latest AI technology. Founder and CEO Lou, I can't pronounce this person's name, so just forget it. Lou, we'll call him CEO Lou, told the South China Morning Post it makes the dolls more responsive and interactive, which offers users a better experience. Well, define experience. WM Doll, based in Zhongshan, a city in southern Guangdong province, implants its dolls with cutting-edge MetaBox brains. These boast an AI element which is connected to the cloud. The dolls fire off signals to large language models, LLMs, like ChatGPT, which process the incoming data. Holy crap, this is nuts. Instructions bounce back to the dolls, telling them how to move and interact. Can you already see like a horror movie coming out of this? Think about this. These guys with their love dolls, and all of a sudden ChatGPT tells these dolls to, do certain things. Right there, that's the idea for a horror movie. It'll make a fortune. The next generation dolls are built with synthetic flesh stretched over a metal skeleton, weighing roughly half the weight of real humans. Man, we're talking about Terminators here. We got Terminatrix, like in Terminator 3. The skin is formed from silicone or a similar material to create a feel as realistic as possible. Traditional SCX dolls are limited to simple mechanical responses. WM Doll thinks their doll's ability to be more expressive gives them the edge. The company says it can make dolls with roughly a whopping 8 different personalities to choose from, which are able to continue a conversation that could have started a few days earlier. Whoa, that's crazy. Well, do you think a lot of these guys are getting these dolls to have conversations or to get down to business? But I think you'd be surprised. I think ultimately a lot of guys will have the ideal. They'll know it's fake. They'll know it's a fucking robot. But if it's like, again, Westworld, and I'm talking decades from now, they may just not care. WM Doll also gives the dolls an AI tool which works in pandering to its partner's ego. Oh, I had to say that, huh? With the ability to ask questions about their so-called relationship as well as how they're feeling. Asking the guys about their relationship, they are making these things real. The founders said, in the past, these dolls' primary function was to satisfy users' sexual needs. But as their physical features such as head and joint movements and skin become more realistic, our customers started to seek emotional companionship in the dolls. Yeah, I'm sure their heads are working quite well. The company began to use AI in its dolls back in 2016, with the tech constantly improving due to open source AI. The dolls are usually made from thermoplastic, which is heated to 37 degrees Celsius, a human body's temperature, to be as realistic as possible, with developers saying that creations have body sensors that also make them realistic. Like I said, this is crazy. A fellow doll manufacturer, Shenzhen Atoll Intelligent Robot Technology, said previously that most of its doll buyers are 40 to 50-year-old men from Europe and the United States. Users can order custom-made AI dolls priced at roughly 2,000 euros each, with soft and elastic skin made from rubbery plastic. According to that company, U.S. customers prefer dolls with darker skin, large breasts, buttocks, and genitals. In other words, the U.S. customers want the bigger booty dolls, while customers in China opt for Asian features. China has been previously estimated to make roughly over 80% of the world's SCX toys, with more than 1 million employed in the country's booming $6.6 billion industry. Wow, 80%. Chinese feminist Xiao Mili has said she believes that some men will always have outdated expectations of women, and sex housewives robots will help with this. She said, a lot of men want the same for women: sex, housework, childbirth, and piety. They don't think of a woman as individual. She says, if every nerd buys a sex doll for himself, that would free a lot of women from these kind of men. Well, newsflash, I think future customers will be considered universally as nerds. I think it's going to be a lot of guys that simply, again, I'm pitching Westworld here. And again, check out Westworld if you haven't seen it, season 1. Decades to come, when I'm an old man, that they'll be like, the annoying real thing? Or, it's going to be interesting. And it ain't just going to be for quote-unquote nerds. That's the abrupt ending to that. Now we're going to go on to the second article, and this is going to be talking about, back to the same subject of the SCX dolls. However, this one's talking about them for women. And I bet you a lot of you wouldn't think that, why would women do this? Well, remember, they do have certain toys that vibrate, so it's leading in that path, but apparently there's a market for those for women. And this is titled, Expert Predicts Women Will Be Having More SCX with Robots Than Men Next Year. How about that? Now, this particular article, the other one I did just came out yesterday. I saw it last night, had to do it. This one's from back in December, but I thought it was important to connect the two. Starts off, says here, next year may be the year of the robot lover. While many increasingly fear automation in the workplace, some futurists predict that machines will cover for our love lives in 2025. I'm not buying that. This new year marks the date futurist Dr. Ian Pearson anticipated humanity will start to see some forms of robot SCX appearing in high-income, very wealthy households. Well, that's realistic because they're going to have the money to buy these things. And the physics and math PhD, who has boasted of having an 85% accuracy rate for his forecast, argues that women might overtake men in the adoption of SCX robots by 2025, in part because they already have a technological head start. I'm just not buying that. He's not talking about gadgets, like vibrators. He's talking about like full-on, like what the guys are having. I just don't buy that. He says vibrators have been around for over a century. Dr. Pearson noticed, but now the vibrant sex toy industry doesn't just make standalone devices, but teledildonic devices. Teledildonic devices that bring all the fun and functionality of computing and networks to SEX2. First conceived in 1975, teledildonics has become the technical term of art for mechanical SEX toys that operate remotely, whether via the internet or otherwise. By some surveys, as many as 63% of women admit they either already use or would like to use an SEX toy, with 40% admitting virtual reality would make SEX more fun and enjoyable. I believe the 63% thing that have admitted they've already used or would like to use a toy. But 40% for the virtual reality thing, maybe the younger audience. Although the market for human-like sex bots, which can cost more than $15,000, is often imagined to be more male-dominated, well, what's this $15,000 here and the other one said $3,000? I guess because over time technology makes things less expensive. As often imagined to be male-dominated, other analysts have also suggested that this gender balance is destined to flip. He says, I think it's the men who should be worried. Harvard-trained mathematician and data scientist Dr. Kathy O'Neill said, it's entirely possible that robots can outperform them. I don't think guys are very worried. Frankly, it should be the women that are worried because at the end of the day, back to the saying, women control the keys of the bedroom, men control the keys of relationships. And plenty, regardless, are going to want to have relationships. Now, obviously, technology is going to make it, medical technology that they can go to the sperm bank and get impregnated. They don't need a man. But still, I don't think it should be the guys that should be worried here. She says, now this says it all. In the Me Too age, I feel like raising standards is quite reasonable, Dr. O'Neill wrote in a 2018 Bloomberg op-ed. It's called for, in fact. Yeah, she's a feminist. According to at least one industry survey, women and men are already nearing parity in their use of SEX dolls, suggesting this gender flip might truly be on the horizon. I do not buy that. Nope. I'm not buying it. I love to be prove me wrong, but I don't believe it. While only 17.4% of people report having SEX with a robot at all, based on current data collected by Bed Bible for 2024, the split between the sexes came to 17.8% of men and 16.5% of women. Hang on here. According to Bed Bible, 17.4% of people, I'm assuming around the world, or who respond to a survey use not just gadgets, but actual SEX dolls. Again, I don't buy that. I mean, what percentage use electric vehicles compared to gas-powered vehicles, But let's just say it's on the rise. But according to Dr. Pearson, economics will still likely hinder widespread adoption in the near term. He says, while some people enthusiastically embrace relationship-free robot SEX as soon as they can afford one, as early as 2025, it won't have much chance of overtaking real SEX with humans overall until 2050. The futurist wrote in his landmark study for Bondara. Okay, I can actually see that being more likely. That's 25 years from now. I can only begin to imagine what technology is going to be in 25 years, if we're still around. God knows what can happen. Or if the rise of the machines doesn't go full Skynet on us and wipe us out. The shift will begin with virtual SEX, which most people will have had by 2030, in part due to rising connected devices, but also the nature of work and long-distance relationships. He argued in the 2015 report commissioned by the UK adult toy retailer. Some might use straightforward VR without SEX toys as part of that. By 2035, toys will be better developed, and most people will be well used to VR sex by then, so will have acquired a collection of SEX toys that interwork with VR. A lot of people will still have reservations about SEX and robots. By mid-century, 25 years from now, Dr. Pearson predicts humanity's squeamishness will gradually evaporate. It doesn't make you squeamish for not wanting to hook up with C-3PO, or the female C-3PO, but still. Key technological advancements will help build consumer comfort with robotic SEX companions across those decades, according to Dr. Pearson. As the AI and mechanical behavior and their feel improves, and they start to become friends with strong emotional bonds. In other words, they build a relationship with the robot, C3PO or dot matrix. He says, you can theoretically buy robots now. They're not very good, Pearson told Inverse in 2015. They really fall far short of a proper SCX robot. Well, that's what he said in 2015. But by looking at those dolls from China right now, like, whoa. He says it's a small market today and will be a small market in 2025, he predicted. And in fact, Bed Bible reports in a world of billions of people, only about 156 sex robots were sold every day in 2024. The $201 million SCX robot industry, they found, only accounts for 0.5% of the $37 billion global SCX toy industry each year. Well, it's interesting because the other article said 6.6 billion. So the numbers are dramatically rising, and obviously somebody's getting the numbers mixed up. Dr. Pearson, however, has acknowledged that he is not infallible. In 2020, just before he happily retired, Dr. Pearson admitted to CNN his predictions for hyper-advanced, fully conscious, and emotive AI was off by decades, if not more. It hasn't progressed as fast as I thought, Pearson told CNN. AI was developing very quickly at the start of the century, so we had predictions that by 2015, we'd have conscious machines that were smarter than people. Yeah, they were predicting flying cars like in Back to the Future Part 2, but, now that hasn't happened. He said, I would estimate that AI has probably progressed about 35 to 40% slower than we expected to, he confessed. So, regardless of whether his predictions were off, we can all agree that the integration of AI is amazing. I mean, I've seen videos of like robots at the Amazon warehouses, what they can do. Holy crap. Or robots that work in like a fast food restaurant, flipping burgers and cooking fries. I've heard about robot chefs that can be programmed to cook a ton of meals and they can do it really well. Regardless, the future is here and it is truly amazing and scary. And now with this industry, we shall see. But the point of the whole thing is, guys, things are changing. And yeah, they can say, oh, guys, better watch out. No, I think the ones that got to watch out are actually the gals. But we shall see. Now, I'm going to read a few comments here. They're pretty funny in response to the one about the women. One guy says here, let's face it, women, as long as it's a good listener and gives a cuddle afterwards, even a toaster will fit the bill for women. Another guy says, if these robots can stand the sound of these irritating voices, complaining about everything, then more power to them. Tina and C3PO can go about their lives. I'll be doing laundry, watching James Bond movies, and making grilled cheese sandwiches. Carry on. Another guy says here, wait a minute, 17.4% of people have had SCX with a robot. That's more than 4 times the number of people who have converted to EVs. I find that statistic a bit hard to believe. Anyway, thanks Daily Mail for this breaking news story on SCX robots Viva 25. So that's what I said when I read that. I'm like, how many people use EVs versus sex robots? And last one, and this is somebody trying to give a dose of reality here in terms of not making a joke. Says, I think this is quite terrible and points to a much larger problem. Men need women and women need men. There shouldn't even be any discussion. Will we ever return to a time where sex is sacred between a husband and wife? I suppose there are those that would argue it never has been that way. I just think the entire thing is pathetic and sad. Well, it's definitely, unfortunate the directions things have gone. You're always going to have a market for people that would be into that, but you're going to have people now that ordinarily would want what's been normal up until this point, but now thinking twice given the times. But who knows? So anyhow, guys, this is the reality. This is what's going on here, and who knows what these predictions will be. They're often wrong, but the point is, keep your eyes open. It's pretty interesting, and it'll be interesting to see with regards, I think the one in China, the first article I covered for men, that's certainly more accurate, and those numbers are simply going to rise. And as these robots seem more and more like humans, and again, the material they use on them and all that, there's going to be a lot of money made. So who knows how this is going to turn out. But anyhow, it's my job to report on these crazy things on occasion, tell you guys what's going on. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you find a good article you want me to cover, or you got a personal story that you're daring enough to share, send it my way, strongsuccessfulmail@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely do it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.